Hello, hello. We are live, y'all. Happy New Year. Happy Lunar New Year. And thank you so much for coming to our very first. Wow, I turned on real quick. Okay. So thank you so much for coming to our very first live stream behind the scene of 2023. Okay. So initially, I had something else planned for tonight's live stream. But instead, I thought about what was happening this week, and I was like, oh shoot, Trixie's event, which is Motions and Emotions, is coming up in 2 days because we're going live right now. This is not pre-recorded, so in 2 days, um, Trixie will be premiering her exhibit. Trixie, do you want to talk about it first before we introduce everyone else in this amazing boxes and panels? Good.
Sure. Hi. um, I'm Trixie Aguiao, she, her, hers. I created this event. Okay, so I pitched this event to New Americans Museum because it's been something that I've been wanting to do. I always do mental health stuff, and obviously I'm Filipina. So I wanted to do something about intergenerational trauma because I think a lot of us can relate to it. Um, it's it's a newer concept, but it's becoming more like known. So I thought this would be a great time to be like, yeah, and we can talk about it too in our own community. So I pitched this to New Americans and they loved it. So we went in on a um, collaboration grant from the NTC Foundation and River Rock Estate Real Estate. Whew, I remembered it. Uh, and yeah, we got it. We got the collaborations. It's one of the collaborations I got. So we're really excited. I'm excited for all these different brown faces to be showing their work and to be speaking, whether it's literally like speaking or rapping or through their movement, all these different ways of communicating. I'm really excited for everyone to be seen as artists and as people in hopes that the audience also feels seen, that we all just feel seen. Because really, I think for me, this is what it's all about. I didn't want to do something about intergenerational trauma that was just me because I'm like, that's weird. I am one person and I am from one generation, so that makes no sense. So I'm really grateful and I'm really excited to have new faces and old faces that I already know in this event. And yes, this will turn into just me going. So I'm going to stop now.
Okay, first of all, I think on our behalf, we just want to say thank you for bringing us along this experience with you because I know that you've briefly mentioned it and knowing the artist you are and also the great friend and collaborator that you are very much in community and want to take everyone with you. So thank you for having us, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes in here. But how many artists are actually being featured in general, including us? Or including yourself because you're in it too.
There
A
are
hundred, just.
no there there are 25 total artists, whether they're the visual artists, they're the people who create the performance, the opening artists, or they're guest artists. So there's 25 of us on that photo.
Nice, nice. Okay, so I was watching the last behind the scene show that we did, and I remembered that I did the popcorn thing not too efficiently. So we're gonna do it in this order. So I'm assuming everyone is seeing the boxes the same orientation that I am. After Trixie, it'll be Win Love, Earl, myself, Giovanni, then Liz. So it'll go in that order. So starting with starting with Trixie again. So if you could introduce yourself, if you already don't have your pronouns, and then also one fun fact about you that's outside of this exhibit. Go.
I am Trixie, she, her, hers, and my fun fact is that I'm standing because my back is really messed up.
I'm Winlove, he, him, and I like to play with knives, specifically balisongs, just flip them around and all that.
Hi, my name is Earl Orlando Paus, and a fun fact about me is that I'm really into teas and herbs. I'm drinking tea right now for immunity because, don't want to get sick in this cold weather. So
Hello, y'all. I'm Adrian, he, him, his. Um, one fun fact. I'm 5'2". If you guys can't tell, Shorty's in the house. Come on. If you're not a shorty, we still love you.
Hi everyone, I'm Giovanni Espiritu, she, her, hers, and sometimes they. A fun fact about me is that, see that puppet? I made that puppet. Oh wait, this puppet here. And his name is Carlin after George Carlin. There you go.
Hey y'all, I'm Liz, they, she, sila, and fun fact is that I like fire.
Okay. I am rolling with this. I have questions. I didn't write them down, and I also like to roll that way. So someone asked me this question recently. Someone that I recently started working and collaborating with, and we just had a post. It's kind of a postmortem. So they had a panel that they participated in, and I was invited to photograph. And during that postmortem event, during lunch, he asked all, all four of us, including herself, a question that if I can remember, um, what is something, what is one thing about you that people can't see above the surface, if that makes sense? People, I guess it would be related to, I guess what I mean by that is like on the surface level, what can people see? Like, what can people pretty much tell by looking at you? But then what can't people tell? Like, what is that one thing that people wouldn't normally know about you? And I'll go first. Okay. Um, okay. For me, like being back in town, being back in San Diego, um, actually, like the way I answered that question too was, like on the outside, people probably, see me as someone that's usually very energetic, usually someone that is very, I would say, very strong-headed. But underneath the surface, on the other hand, which is related to this upcoming exhibit, plug motions and emotions, is that um, some may know because I've kind of opened up about it that I like am coming into terms that I really like have to work a little bit harder to like kind of get up every day and to get to that level of like confidence that I have to be. Um, it's a lot of work, and I think that's something that I'm learning to make peace with. Let's see. Does anyone want to go next?
Does that mean that I go next because I'm next to you? Is that like the way that we're working? Okay, we're doing it. We're
I
doing
guess,
it.
yeah.
People think that like out on the outside, like that I'm super like ha ha, right? People think that I'm an extrovert. I'm so not. I have so much social anxiety, and I'm an introvert, and like it takes me like I need to like grow the cojones to like go out into public, and it takes me, and like after I'm done, I'm like I pass out. And then another thing that people don't know about me, but I've been pretty open about it, is that I used to be in a biblical doomsday cult, and I think it is part of like the whole generational trauma thing. And dude, that World War II trauma goes in our lines. That's so hard sometimes. So yeah, but I'm pretty open about it. So y'all can just ask me questions. Passing it on to Liz.
Okay, cool. So for me, I'm usually described as like an enigma. Internally, I have squirrels dancing in a rave in my brain, but like overall, just very multifaceted. And I feel like being able to lean into like my different multifaceted interests and arts and expressions and everything is definitely revolutionary for a lot of those who identify as Filipino or like those who are children of immigrants and everything like that, because most times we are, you know, we're introduced to like certain careers that would be successful in society and everything like that. And for us, like all of us here, you know, being able to express ourselves in our arts and like our different expressions is revolutionary and something that can go ahead and shift like how we move in the world. And so, so yeah, so that's something about me that you might not see right away. So thank you.
I'm assuming it just pops back up to me. Uh, um, the thing that came off the top of my head is that I have mental illness, and because of like the way I am, and I'm very like, ah! I like how we all make noises, by the way. You know, I'm very out there. I do a lot of things. I know I do. Um, so there's been many times where I'm like, yeah, I have PTSD. Like, I have CPTSD. I have anxiety and depression. Like, I've been going to therapy for years. They're like, oh, I would have never known. And I'm like, I know I never get mad because I'm like, what are they supposed to say? But in my head, I'm like, well, because, like, it's weird. It's like, I'm not trying to be like, here is my depression, and then like put it onto you because that's weird. So that I think people don't get that. And then also, like, I know I'm the curator and stuff for this, and I know I lead a lot of things, but honestly, like, I'm more comfortable following than I am leading. Um, and it just I end up leading stuff because there's just things I want to do. And I either have the ability to do them or like no one else wants to, so I'll just do it because like I want to do it. But yeah, I actually like following more than I like leading.
I just have to give you props for like spearheading things and like doing the thing though, because we need that. And I know it gets tiring, but thank you.
Thank you. I pass off to Win Love.
So for me, I think the biggest thing is that I seem really confident, especially as a performer. I get up on stage and perform and I do the things that I need to. But as soon as I get off that stage, I'm sitting down, triple guessing everything that I've done. And I'm thinking to myself, was that good enough? And that's, I think, part of the reason why I've had to force myself to become confident is because I have that anxiety that's like, am I missing something? Did I bring enough mics for my set? Did I bring enough cables? Or did I do my work at home? It just there's so many things that go on in my mind that I don't really let out, and that's what my music is for. And so, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. Go ahead, Earl.
Wow, yeah, for me, very similar to a lot of people would think, that I speak pretty eloquently, except for right now. But generally, I do, like I don't come off very shy. I'm very eccentric. I tend to be very loud and boisterous. But deep down inside, I actually still have a bit of a stutter. I had a stutter ever since I was probably in first grade or something like that. I couldn't even say my own name. And I went through a lot of speech therapy. It doesn't go away. It's not the kind of thing that's just like, boom, I could speak all of a sudden. But theater, acting, dancing really helped build more confidence and help me project things and enunciate and all those things, which helped a lot. Release a lot of tension that's held there, but that's something that people are kind of shocked to hear. Um, yeah, so I'll pass it back to Adrian.
Thank you, Earl. I actually remember when you shared that story with me, and I was surprised too. Last summer when we were first getting to know each other. The thing keeps motions and emotions. It keeps going back to me, and all the puns. So now I guess we just kind of briefly talked about the motions part, and I'm kind of curious about. Actually, no, just kidding. I one more question for the motions part. Um, the question that came up to mind as y'all were talking and sharing was, I'm curious to hear, like, what are your personal experiences and feelings of being Filipino, Filipinx, and how has that, or yeah, how has that influenced your the way that you show up in this world through your art making. And we'll start with Trixie.
Adrian, that is like the biggest question of life. I'm like, how do I not take the rest of this time? Yeah, there you go. My brain is like, I don't know. I think for me, being Filipino is like a very strange experience uh, because it's something that when I was younger. Okay, so I grew up. I'm Igorot, so I grew up like very active. My family was very active in Bebop, Northern California. So I was very lucky because I grew up with some of my culture. Like it's when I think of my culture, I don't like some people think wow wow we. You know what I mean? Like some people think TFC, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But I have more history that I know, and like I know my own personal cultural dances. Like when I think of the Tinikling, like even though I'm Filipino, like that's not my cultural dance. I have different cultural dances. So I'm really lucky in that way. And the other part of it is, and this is very related to intergenerational trauma. There was a big part of my life when I was younger where I pushed away being Filipino because it was connected to family trauma and like Filipinos being too strict or having so many expectations put on you and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't want to go into it because again, I'll just talk the whole time. So it's very interesting because even though I grew up with both of those feelings, I feel like now as an adult, I'm trying to look at that and have some sort of peace for myself about it, or like I'm figuring out what being Filipino means to me now, which is part of the reason why I also wanted to do this project. And it's like, does it mean to be Filipino? What does it mean to be Filipino American? What does it mean to be in community with different Filipinos, knowing that like we're not a monolith and there's so many fucking languages. There's like over 100 different dialects, which a lot of them are basically different languages. So like, what does that mean? And I think it's just going to be something ongoing that will hopefully keep affecting my life for the better, or at least will help me be more knowledgeable so I can make better choices. That's what I got. Go win, love.
Thanks, Trixie. I think the biggest thing for me is as Filipinos, food is very ingrained in our culture. And not only is the food, but is your weight. And so a lot of the things that I deal with, like right now, I I think I'm at a good point with my body, but I still think I look fat. You know, there's so many things that I went through growing up that made me feel like no matter how much weight I lost or how much weight I gained, I was never gonna have the body that was necessary for me to be happy. And so I'm trying to cope with that, but I think that's probably the biggest thing that bothers me in my daily life. It dictates how I eat. It dictates the things that I do in the day. When I don't do when I don't do enough, or don't eat, or I eat too much, I just feel like terrible and end up eating more, go into the spiral. Or if I to the point where I have to like starve myself to compensate for that. And so I'm working on getting a good balance for that. But that's probably the biggest thing for me. Other than that, dealing with mental health isn't something I'm comfortable with usually. And so like it wasn't until like a couple years ago that I really understood the things that went on within my mind. But because of the way my family interacted emotionally, or not really interacted because of the lack of interaction and helping me understand the emotions that I'm dealing with, it kind of led to me getting these anxieties and going into depression without really knowing what these are, because I didn't have anyone to talk about it. Like in my bio for the event, I said that the only reason I learned that I had depression, well, I don't, not even diagnosed, but I was watching BoJack Horseman, and there's a scene where he was just talking so negatively about himself constantly, and I was like, so wait, that's not normal, because that's what I do all the time. And so just the combination of like the healthy, being healthy, or quote unquote health, finding a healthy weight for myself, and being able to discuss my mental health, those are two of the biggest things that have impacted me through the generational traumas. Go ahead, Earl.
Oh, wow. For me, Adrian, this question, just to circle back to the question, because I want to make sure I'm answering it correctly. It was, could you repeat
Yes.
it again?
Yeah, the question is, what are your personal thoughts and feelings about being Filipino Filipinx, and how has that influenced you in the way you show up in your art expressing art form?
Got it. Yes. So I grew up in a Filipino Pentecostal church as a child, spending a lot of my time there and being around a lot of Filipinos in that way. Very religious, very spiritual community. Um, but I still never felt like I was Filipino because, again, even Pentecostal and like the Christian identity isn't really rooted in Filipino identity or culture. It just so happened to be the church was full of Filipinos and had a Filipino pastor and a pastora and all of that. So I felt like my connection to identifying as Filipinx, I think, really started in spirituality and in search um, for cultural roots that felt meaningful for me in a spiritual journey when I left the church or when I felt like it didn't really align with me. So a lot of my work outside of the church when I started to be an artist on my own had to deal with spirituality, religion, um, and things like that. And then a lot of sexuality and what gay meant or queer or like bakla, all of those terms interwoven and meaning very specific things that I still didn't really identify with. So that's why now I identify more as Filipinx. It feels something very new, something fresh, something emerging, and something very queer, um, while still being rooted in in decolonizing or in re-indigenizing, and that's something that I try to bring into my work as well.
Okay. I just realized Filipino, Filipinx, Filipina, Filipinx. Sorry, I was like, wait, I didn't forget that on purpose, but I did. For me, I being born in the Philippines in Mandaluyong, then moving here at 9 abruptly, I felt like for as long as I can remember, I've always like I was telling Trixie this yesterday. I've been like chronically homesick my whole life. Like I was homesick for over 20 years when I left the Philippines. Now I'm like homesick because I left San Diego for LA. So um, I kind of feel like on top of that, I guess on the other side really of those strong feelings of that, I also very much have such a huge love and appreciation for culture because for me personally, that's only all I've known to be. I feel like that's where my spirit comes from, my love comes from, love for people, community, my optimism for life. Something that I'm trying to bring back. Just like I feel like I like the way I see the goodness in life really had a lot to do with how I was, my experiences of being Filipino. Um, on top of like the food, the songs, all the things that, that is very lovable about our culture. And I feel like that also goes with me being an artist. Though I've had many, 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 conversations with myself if this is the route that I wanted to take, it almost feels like my being an artist is very much ingrained with me being Filipino. Um, because there were many things that I couldn't really express, or more so didn't know how to express. And I'm just really thankful for the art forms that I've learned growing up. That's really allowed me to have these platforms and opportunities to just let things out, whether it's through dance, singing. I played the violin at some point, video editing, now film. I don't know what's next, but I feel like the two are kind of culture and my being an artist is very much like this.
I guess I'm next. This is such like a big question. You know what I mean? Like I feel like what? How do I even know? And for me, like being Filipino, I feel like I'm just only now kind of starting to like really honor being Filipino. You know, because I came here at TNT when I was 2, but I didn't know I wasn't American until way, way later, I didn't even know what my real name was until way, way later. And the fact that my mom named me Giovanni, which is like an Italian man's name, like speaks so much to the fact that we are so ingrained to like want to be something other than ourselves, and there was this constant feeling of not being enough. Like just like anywhere, everywhere, all the time. And, working in the industry that I'm in, like I work in the film TV industry, and when I started, there were like no roles for Asians, even just like the conglomerate Asian, right? Even more so for Filipinos, which is a very specific Asian. So I'm glad that there's more representation now, and we need more of it. But right now, like kind of like I'm having this, even like Trixie was saying, like even the Philippines, there's so many different cultures in the Philippines. And this current movie that I'm working on that's supposed to be a Filipino story, the producers who are not Filipino right now, they're having a hard time distinguishing between Indonesia and the Philippines. And I'm just like, I keep saying it over and over again, and it's like, we're not one big conglomerate, and I'm trying to like really, find my identity myself, and how do I honor that in this industry. And most of my work as an artist kind of speaks to the fact of like always fighting, always trying to prove yourself, always trying to like, push against like the systematic biases that are out there, because it is hard out here, y'all. It's hard. I'm sure you guys know. So Liz, oh, you're over here. Liz.
Thank you. Yeah, so for all who identify as Filipino X, it's a very broad term. It's very broad because not only is the archipelago very diverse, but there's so many of us spread across the diaspora globally, and how people identify with culture is going to be very, very different all across the world. And so for me personally, so I am of Ilocano Kapampangan ancestry, born in Culiat, also known as Angeles City, and raised in Hawaii, and then grew up and lived all around the world. And so for me, it's especially, the archipelago, the islands, and around the world, it's all very diverse and so many different cultures integrated in that. And I feel like that's very much how I move around the world. But I feel like what's kept me grounded is my family has really nurtured us embracing our culture for everything that they knew. And then in terms of like growing up in Hawaii, it's like being able to honor like the cultures around us, honor each other, and be able to honor the lands and everything like that that we're in. And so being able to move through that way is being able to recognize that I am comprised of many different perspectives, cultures, experiences in my life. And, for a time I had like an identity crisis because I was like, yeah, there's so many different things. But now it's nice because I feel like it's a lot more integrated and I embrace that. And, me being very multifaceted in my art and expressions, it allows me to embrace that too, because it's like, oh, I don't need to just be this one thing. I can be anything, and allow myself to express in that way.
Thank you, everyone, for answering that very loaded question. And since it's wow, 28 minutes. Okay, so since Giovanni has like a meeting at 7, and Trixie, they will go and answering this question. Why the piece that you all are doing? Why did y'all choose that to create or submit for this upcoming exhibit? Go ahead, Giovanni.
Oh, because when Trixie posted the requirements about it being about intergenerational trauma, I was like, I get it. And it just kind of fit, you know? So please come on by on Thursday. Come for the performances. I think I should be there Friday too. So, you know, like for those of y'all out there, please come support us. So that's all I'm going to say.
Giovanni was the first. You were the first submission I got. Like it was just. It was like I was like, damn, that's fast. That was like the first submission. I will say also, like, even though I have to go, I can't go until everyone goes. So I love you all, but please keep that in mind because I can't leave until we all leave because I'm hosting the room. So I was originally going to do something by myself that was spoken word and dance and about like the lineage of something, and then Margarita Homero applied and I was like, that's what she's doing. And it's not exactly the same of what I wanted to do, but I was like, why am I going to have the same thing in the show twice? So I was like, hey Margarita, is it cool if we collaborate and I choreograph to your script? And she was like, yeah. So I'm very thankful to her for being open, honestly. Like, yeah, because I like collaborating. Like, it's gonna be cool. So that's what I'm doing. I am choreographing and dancing to Margarita Homero's A Long Line, and it's beautiful and it's very truthful. She wrote really good shit, everyone. So come watch it. I'm done.
All right. So I'll be performing songs that aren't necessarily about intergenerational trauma, but definitely are the product of the intergenerational trauma. Just a lot dealing with my confidence as a person and an artist as my own right, and trying to figure out where I fit as a Filipino American rapper, trying to figure out how I should sound or who I should sound like. So that first song's called "Do Like Me," and then the second one is just one of my earliest experiences with mental illness, as I had a friend that was going through some very depressing times, and that song's called Rebecca. And so those are two songs I'll be performing. That's it for me.
Great, and I'll be quick so then we all gotta leave. So my piece is a performance ritual with a little bit of dance and a little spoken word over some music. And it is more about generational trauma through the centuries of our Filipinx history. So I do speak a little bit about a blood compact between a Datu and a king. That was the first kind of like recorded magical ritual to happen, and then the Spanish king broke it by colonizing the Philippines and stuff. And I think that, I mean, you all know the rest, the 333 years of being under the Spanish. So I talk about the Bailan, which are the Filipinx queer shamans, and then I also talk about the Manongs, and a little bit about like Gayuma and like love potion, things like that. It's all weaved into this 5 minute, 4 minute piece. So yeah.
Okay, for me, I'm sure I was the last one to apply because I applied on December 31st at 10 p.m. Um, my spoken word medley is called, working title is Ikaw Ay Ako. I've performed it a few times, but I think this is my first actual, like, intentional, like, I'll be standing up on a mic and then reciting like medley of poems that I started back in 2009. So it's like it captures different moments of where I have been, and actually this medley will include a brand new work, yeah, which will premiere on Thursday. Liz.
Okay, awesome. And for me, I get to dance with Trixie and Earl for a dance production called Birds by Hortense. And so it's really cool because so I grew up dancing folk dance. And so it's a deconstructed Tinikling. Mixed with contemporary, which is nice too because I've been dancing contemporary with Trixie for a bit as well. So it's great to integrate all of that. And I love the context behind it because it talks about the origins of Tinikling, and addresses colonization and addresses like the resistance that we have through it. So really beautiful piece, really thankful to be a part of it. And yeah, that's going to be this weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Thank you, Miss Trixie. Please end the show by inviting everyone since you know the details. Go.
Hi. So really quickly, Motions and Emotions starts. Our opening is a gala opening because it's for the art exhibit. I think it's been really confusing to people because like opening night to our dance show friends just mean like, oh, it's your first night. Wrong. So opening night is for the art exhibit and it opens and it will open with 4 different Filipinx artists. And then we have performances from this Friday to Sunday. And then there will also be a free workshop on Sunday from 11 to 12 with Dr. Maddie, who's been our mental health professional consultant for the show. I'm really grateful to have her. If you want to look for tickets and stuff, it's on my Instagram, The Thoughtful Beast, at The Thoughtful Beast. TFFC is the Fil-Am Film Collective is, related to me. And so I'm sure you've been seeing our posts and stuff, and we'll definitely keep sharing some stories where you guys can find tickets.
Is there a dress code?
No.
Okay, on behalf
No.
of the Fil-Am Film Collective, Trixie, thank you so much for coming tonight. And y'all, really thank you so much. I know it's last minute, could have had more time, but we definitely can't wait to see y'all this Thursday, this weekend. And for the rest of the time, the exhibit will be. Thank y'all. Have a good night. Stay safe, loved, and healthy. Much love, y'all.
Bye.
And
Thanks,
Trixie.